walk with me, walk with me.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's City of Cedar Falls City Council meeting for Monday, October 7th. I will call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Schultz.
Here.
Latta.
Here.
Cruz.
Here.
Hallbaker. Ganfield.
Here.
Chrisman.
Here.
Dunn.
Here.
Councilmember Hallbaker, absent Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And if willing and able, could everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. All right. Approval of minutes. We have a motion to approve regular meeting of September 16th
So moved.
minutes.
Second.
Motion and seconded, and all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, any agenda revisions?
I have no agenda revisions, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We will move to public forums. The speakers will have one opportunity to speak for up to 5 minutes on topics relevant to city business. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak tonight? Just name and address, please.
Kim Bear, 3815 Union Road. I'm going to talk before Dustin or Hannah tell me to. So tonight I just wanted to take a minute. I wrote it so I wouldn't forget what it said. To take a minute to say thank you. There are so many good things happening in Cedar Falls, and oftentimes we forget to take a minute and acknowledge it. In the last 2 years, we have dumped nearly 300 tons of sand on Main Street. In the third weekend of September, through great support from the City of Cedar Falls, we were able to turn Main Street into a giant street party. Through collaboration of figuring out liquor licenses and extending patios to the best way to pick up cans, trash, and deliver picnic tables to accommodate for the crowds that we were hopeful for. Thank you to all those at the city who helped to troubleshoot and make sure we had another successful year. Specific shout outs to Amy Eggleston, Brian Heath, Tyler Griffin, Tim Smith, and Doyle Smith. We wouldn't be able to do cool things without the support of the city, our great community sponsors, Channel 15, and the downtown district stakeholders. Special shout out to the planning committee for striving and learning every year to make it better. We look forward to doing more fun things, and before you know it, Santa will also be here. So just wanted to say thanks.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Director. And thank you to the entire team. I know you guys have a lot of big events this time of year. And I asked you when you were taking a vacation, you laughed at me. So thank you for the work you guys do. All right, anyone else for public comment? Stummy. Just name and address, please.
My name is Reverend Lawrence Stummy, pastor of St. Paul Lutheran Church in Cedar Falls, and I live in Lois Lane in Waterloo. 25 years ago, the United Nations decided to set a day a year, October 17th, as an international day for the eradication of poverty, to bring attention across the world to the scourge of poverty. 25 years ago is a long time, and so in 2015 they decided that they would have a special program with a goal of by 2030 to eliminate poverty in the world, and ambitious. There's no surprise that that has failed, but they were able to reduce over 2.1 million people in poverty. There are presently, according to the United Nations figures, 712 million people living in extreme poverty as defined by the UN as living on $1.90 a day. To bring the urgency of eradicating poverty closer to home, Iowa State University in 2018 issued a poverty report on counties in Iowa and showed that 19,695 people, or 15% of the population of Black Hawk County, lived under the definition established for poverty. 5,002 were under the age of 18, and 13,482 were from 18 to 64. This year, the UN suggested that people who are celebrating are observing, not celebrating because it's nothing to celebrate, but to observe the Eradication of Poverty Day, that they center their attention and focus on what it's like to be living in poverty. Because they realize that the poor people are the first ones who have to face poverty every day of their life. In response to this call to invite communities to take seriously the call to eradicate poverty, about 20 of us decided to establish what we believe is the first Black Hawk County Day for the eradication of poverty. We hope that it'll become an annual event when people in our county review and find ways that we as caring people can join together with each other and the world to solve the major correctional problem of poverty, because poverty is a problem that is solvable. It's not an insolvable problem. It's great, but it's not insolvable. For that day, on October 17th, we have planned a simple three-part program. At 11 o'clock, we're going to be showing as I think I passed out the flyer. At 11 o'clock, we'll be showing the End of Poverty, a film that won awards. It's about an hour and 40 minutes long, but it talks about poverty, especially in Africa and in South America, and the cause of Africa and the relation between the poverty in those countries of Africa and South America and the people of the North, the people in Europe and Northern Asia and America. And then at 3:30, one of our pastor, Christine Kaplunas, who's a pastor of a Unity Presbyterian Church in Waterloo, and I think she lives in Cedar Falls, is going to head a panel, and she's getting together people who experience poverty, who experience either as victims of poverty or work so closely with poverty that they see its result, to expose and sensitize us to what's happening in our own community.
In just 1 minute, Mr. Stummy.
At 7 o'clock, we're proud to have Omar Baldi, who is a native of Africa, Guinea-Bissau. He is a professor at Wartburg College and working on his doctorate at UNI. And his uncle is the president of that country. He is an expert in African poverty, and he just recently returned from the United Nations where he attended a session on poverty. So we've set it up so these 3 sessions, I know you're busy, it's a Thursday is the day, but if you can attend one of these, we appreciate it. I think you would find that it would be worth it. And this invitation isn't just for you, but it's for everybody here. Thank you, Wim.
Thank you, Reverend.
Thanks, Rob.
Anyone else for public comment tonight? Just name and address, please.
Hi, Kim Jordan, Cedar Falls. Again, just wanting to reach out and just kind of give an update as far as my continued search and thinking of our forward lifestyle in Cedar Falls. Let's see, what was it? Saturday, I was at my mom's place on First Street. There was an ambulance that went by, or a fire truck. And I'm thinking, wow, where did that have to come from? Where do we have public safety here in Cedar Falls? We have a hospital, which Pastor Stummy is correct, and we have World Hunger. We also have points of service in this hospital that is a civil defense emergency site. So therefore, that becomes a very important point within our community. It's a land site that we should not take for granted. I do want to reach out to council a little bit after tonight to kind of maybe discuss and set up a time to really talk about that. Because as I've been going up to Rochester and talking with different people, I've met contacts where we can actually have communication with professors that are in charge of nursing that could provide recommendations for different people and maybe our nursing program, but also the community as a whole for that hospital and how it can pertain to our program that we're starting. We also have, as Stephanie Sheets had mentioned on February 5th, the potential to have the high school and the hospital be an R3 with potential growth in the future. That was concerning. It really got me into thinking, what do we do now? I went as far as to look into what we could do to put on the ballot. How many people here in the community are concerned about having a hospital within this side of town for emergency services? If we don't have police on this side, we don't have a hospital, we don't have fire, what are we leaving for the surrounding communities in that pinpoint? So public forum, it's hard for people to come down here and say, yeah, I would really, December 31st of 2026, not want to see that vacate and not become a continued hospital for our community. So people even watching at home, I think our voices need to really get loud. One thing I would like to entertain is the fact that we need to be potentially city-owned. We used to be in 1996. We thought that was too big of an animal. We have insurance companies, we have pharmaceuticals, we have upper management. All across this nation right now, we are experiencing people giving up those hospitals, those pinpoints that are extremely valuable. The Mayo brothers would be so disgusted as to where we are right now in this nation of not caring about the poverty, but caring about the actual humanity of health. Because the humanity and the richness of our country is based on the health of our people. It's disgusting to know that we do not have quicker response on this side of town for ambulance service, if there was the need for a fire to go out, if there's also a need for police service. They do their best, and I applaud that. I just think that for us to continue with a southern expansion and not taking care of our own, the thing that we have already, and potentially collaborate with the university, I really want that opportunity to speak with President Nook. They sat as a university for an extra couple of years. 2017 is when Mercy One was going to build a facility. They decided there was no money, and that was before COVID. COVID, we needed beds. Sartori has 140. Why do we want to build something smaller and have less amenities for our public? We already have that. We just have to fund and grow it. We have to get back to what makes our community great. I have state officials that said Mayo Clinic was at our table. We could have been, oh, that's Cedar Falls, Iowa, that's Mayo Clinic affiliated. No, we went with the Trinity program of Covenant, Wheaton, Mercy One. It was kind of out of our hands. We had city administrator, we had CEO of the city-owned hospital, and we also had administrative board that was in there. So thinking of right now, who in this room either goes to Mercy One or Unity Point, there's options. If we had a city-owned, that would be an opportunity for another option. I think we have to really understand when we form boards who we're fighting for, and it's the people of the city. And that's what I'm reaching out for, is just to make sure that we all are fighting for the same thing, and we try to stand up for that one site, not to let it go, and start with repairs. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jensen. Anyone else for public comment tonight? All right, seeing none, we'll move to staff updates. And I believe we've got one staff update tonight. Director Birdie? You didn't even have to say anything, you just came in.
Mayor, Council, thanks for the chance to plug our fire prevention open house. This is Fire Prevention Week, so tomorrow we're hosting an open house, kind of fire related, focused on fire stuff, fire equipment, fire trucks. Kids will have a chance to drag a dummy, kind of piggyback off the Kids Fire Academy, some of the activities that we do for kids there. Pull a hose, they'll get to spray a fire in our little firehouse out back with the hose. We partnered with Hy-Vee this time. Hy-Vee reached out and wanted to get involved. So they're going to bring some snacks and trinkets to hand out to the kids. There'll be some stuffed animals for the kids. We'll have some trinkets for them as well, some fire helmets that every kid loves. And then, yeah, it's 4:30 to 7 tomorrow out at 4600 Main, the main station. So yeah, if anybody can show up and come out there, it should be a good turnout. It should be a good day for it. And then, so with Fire Prevention Week, we go out to all the elementary schools and talk to every grade level, kind of give them a little fire prevention talk about smoke alarms, make them work for you. That's the theme this year. So then we talk to them, and then we hand out the coloring contest bags, so the brown bags from Hy-Vee UC. I don't know if you guys have seen them out, but the kids take a lot of time and effort to color those, and then the winners get a ride to school in the fire truck, which is always a big hit. So kind of another way to reiterate some fire safety stuff. We hand those out, talk to the kids, and then they come back, and we have a really stringent judging course that goes through to look through them all. I had one that they colored last year. I forgot to bring it in, but I should go grab it. It's amazing, honestly.
Some of us colored those bags.
What's that?
Some of us colored those bags when we were kids.
Well, some of them are really good. I think Mom and Dad might have helped a little bit, but they're really good. And then on Saturday, the 12th, from 10 a.m. to noon at Hy-Vee, we're going to have a truck there where the kids can spray water again. So they requested us to come out to set up out front there. But yeah, that's all I got. Is there any questions about it? Hope to see you guys there. All right, thank you.
No dunk tank this time. It's a little chilly. I'm good. Thanks, you. Thanks, Chief.
I think Councilman Ganfield gets a quarter for every time someone says piggyback. So,
I was just wondering which dummy they were going to drag.
yeah, yeah.
Which one of us is showing up?
One with a hat on, yes.
Okay.
I love the commentary. You guys aren't following rules. You have to ask me to talk. Come on.
Apologies.
Special order, we'll move to special order of business. Item number 2, receive and file bids received for the sale of $4,520,000 general obligation loan notes, Series 2024.
So moved.
Motion?
Second.
Motion and seconded. And
Thank you. John Burmeister with PFM. Pleasure to be here this evening. Earlier today, the city did solicit proposals from underwriting firms on the purchase of your general obligation capital loan notes. But before we do go into the bid results, I want to congratulate you again. Moody's did confirm your AAA rating. There's only 2 other cities in the state of Iowa that have AAA ratings, so keep up the good work. You're in rare air in terms of the credit worthiness of the city. There's very few AAAs, even in Iowa, let alone the United States. So keep up the really good work. In fact, I think you have a copy of their report. You should read through that because it has a lot of good. This is really your report card from an independent. Strong reserves, ample flexibility. You consistently outperform your budget. You're setting aside reserves for future capital needs. You're not borrowing all the time for all of that stuff. And then you have low liquidity. Or excuse me, low liabilities. Your debt burden is about as low as it's been in any of the big cities here in the state of Iowa. So keep up the good work. That AAA rating is what really attracts the underwriters and the investors to bid in your bonds. So if you see in front of your results of sale, you can see that we ended up getting 7 bids from different underwriting firms. And if you look at the 7 different bids, there's 42 underwriters located throughout the United States that are fighting over your bonds. And if you flip to like the first page, you can see there's several states. They're coming in as far as, this is a $4.5 million bond issue, or capital loan note issue, and they're coming in from New York. You're hitting the Wall Street firms are coming in to buy your bonds here in Cedar Falls. And if you look to the third page back here, you can see all over the United States, Wisconsin, New Jersey, Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee, Florida, Colorado, New Jersey, Oklahoma, see Kansas, Georgia, Michigan. So you're attracting all of the attention all across the United States. So if you look at these bids, FHN, Financial Capital Markets, if you go to the right-hand side, there's a TIC. That's similar to what we call in our world, similar to an APR on a car loan. We call it true interest cost. And you can see the low bid was a 3.176. And you can see the cover was a 3.22, and if you flip to the very last page, it was 3.3%. So we're very pleased with the number of bids. We're very pleased with all the underwriters that performed, that actually participated, and we're actually very excited with the interest rate as well. We had We didn't know rates were going to be where they are today, and they've been kind of coming down over the last summer with the Fed's recent cuts, so I think we kind of timed the market real well with that as well. So if there aren't any questions, we would recommend that you award this to FH and Financial Capital Markets at a true interest cost of 3.1760%.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Any questions, discussion, thoughts from council? Mr. Mayor, Gil's jumping on it.
So appreciate your presentation and that, and maybe related, unrelated. I don't want to lose our AAA bond rating. Do you have any thoughts on, are we too conservative on our financing, and is there room to be a little bit more aggressive in some things?
In terms of borrowing more?
Yeah.
There's a little bit of room, but also if you look through that report, you may have noticed that they are aware of your treatment plant project that you have coming up in the next 5 to 10 years. And in fact, they did make a note, and we shared this with them, that you may need to be borrowing up to $100 million to facilitate that project. So we'll want to feed into that slowly into the future, because that in and of itself, that dollar figure could cause your rating to go down at that point in time. And in fact, they do say here, if under the factors that could lead to a downgrade, the growth of your long-term debt ratio above 200%. So I think the longer we're in the future, your city's going to grow, you're paying down your existing debt, you're borrowing every other year. So you're doing everything in the right way to kind of take on that project. In fact, you've been adjusting your sewer rates slowly over time before that project comes online. Your sewer your cash reserves are growing. So you're building into that project. And so I can't think of anything additionally that you could be doing to prepare for a project that size.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Councilmember Cruz, you have some?
Yeah, just a quick question. I was looking here at, you mentioned FHN Financial. Morgan Stanley appears to be, well, a number of these appear to be the same, unless there's something in the background that makes them different.
Yeah, they all actually, to try and get your bonds, they combine forces. So you actually had 2 Wall Street firms join forces. So this FHN Financial, they had with their bid, Morgan Stanley, Raymond James, Fidelity. So they all joined together to get a piece of your bonds. As opposed to fighting each other independently, they tried to combine together to get a piece of it. And in fact, if you look at the page 3, Robert W. Baird, there's like 20 underwriters that are joining together to try and get a piece of their bonds. That way, if they can get a little piece of it, it's better than losing the whole thing. They might get a piece of the project, so a piece of the bonds. So that's why they do that.
Diversification.
But yeah, yep.
Okay. Any other questions, comments from council?
Mayor.
Yep.
I think it is worth noting, and I just wanted to extend appreciation that we got 7 competing bids, as you've already alluded to. We've got several projects where we send out and we get 1 bid in response. So this, obviously, the rating has attained this good status for us. So I just wanted to say hats off to staff that's put that together over the years, and thank you for that effort.
Yep.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
I just want to second, just having spent a lot of time with staff the last 9 months, that is something you can tell we've always, as a city, done an incredible job with, is how we manage our finances. Everything we're working on with the wastewater treatment plant, been doing ahead of time to make sure and prepare for that. So especially thank you, Jen, as our FBO director. Thank you for all the work you do. All right, any other, and we will, if everything's, no comments from council, any public comment on this item? Just name and city, please.
Kim Jordan, Cedar Falls. This goes back a couple years. 2020, we were discussing the budgetary status of Cedar Falls, and the hospital was kind of within that same process.
Kim,
yeah.
It does need, this is just for the actual
Correct.
issuance of the bid, not necessarily things we're funding or what we're spending the money on.
Curious, Jennifer Robendock at that point had mentioned that, or council had asked where $121 million had gone from healthcare from the hospital. And if I'm correct in asking, it was parked in the sewer account ledger. Is that something that we can kind of, I just want to find out if there is that amount of money that was taken from one health entity and then moved over to another health type project for public reclamation and so forth. If we could look into that.
Okay, I can follow up with you offline.
Yes, that would be very interesting, and I don't want to hurt our credit status, but I just want to make sure that, you know, trying to build and keep a good health entity to our community, that those funds that I was kind of imagining were here, we can actually tap into.
Thank you, Kim. I'll
All right.
touch base with
Yes,
you just
thank
to
you very
see what
much.
the question is. Thank you. Any other public discussion for this item, please? All right, seeing none, it requires a roll call vote.
This one's just a voice vote, since we're still on.
Receive and file.
We're still on receiving and filing.
Oh, excuse me, we are just receiving and filing. So just a roll call vote for, or excuse me, a voice vote. So just a voice vote for this. So all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, resolution directing the sale of $4,500,000.
Before we move on, could we have Ms. Rodenbeck address that, just so everybody gets the answer to
Yeah.
that question?
Jen, if you
Sure.
don't mind.
And we thought it might be important to address, because I think we've heard it a couple times about 120 million that happened in that. So just for everyone's benefit, we did not receive 120 million when that transaction happened back in 1997. I think it was more right around 6 or 8 million is what was received at the time. That money has stayed in our health trust fund. And then, as you know, we do have a health trust fund board that every year they look, and if they feel like there's enough interest off of those principal, they may fund, get applications and fund some health-related projects in the city. But they don't do that every year because, again, when there's been lower interest rates, they haven't done that. And again, it hasn't been the principal that's ever been spent, it's just the interest. So I'm not really sure where the 120 million has come from, but I think we just wanted to clarify that we didn't have 120 million that we received, and that we don't have that sitting somewhere for that purpose.
Okay, thank you, Jen. Does council have any questions on that? All right, thank you, Director. So item number 3, resolution directing the sale of $4,520,000 general obligation loan notes, Series 24. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, and any discussion from council? And any from the public? All right, seeing none, also voice vote on this?
Roll call.
So this is roll call? Okay, roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll move on to old business. Item number 4, passed ordinance number 3079, amending Chapter 5, alcoholic and malt beverages of the Code of Ordinances relative to the purpose, eligibility for license, conditions for issuance of license, approval required, application for approval, granting of approval, suspension or revocation of approval, location and operation generally, and location and operation exemptions upon its third and final consideration.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion from council? Seeing none, any from the public? Seeing none as well, requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 5, pass ordinance number 3080, amending Chapter 12, Human Relations of the Code of Ordinances relative to the Human Rights Commission, membership, appointment of members, term of office, and qualifications upon its third and final consideration. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded, and any discussion from council? All right, seeing none, any from the public? Also seeing none, roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 6, pass ordinance number 3081, amending Chapter 19, Streets and Sidewalks of the Code of Ordinances relative to work performed within city right-of-way or property upon its second consideration.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second, and any discussion from council? Seeing none, any from the public? Also seeing none, roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 7, pass ordinance number 3082, repealing Section 346, painters or erectors license of Chapter 3, advertising, and Section 793, bond guarantee of service of Chapter 7, buildings and building regulations of the Code of Ordinances upon its second consideration.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded, and any conversation from council? And any from the public? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
you, Madam Clerk. Item number 8, pass ordinance number 3083, amending Chapter 7, Buildings and Building Regulations of the Code of Ordinances relative to insurance, and Chapter 25, Vehicles for Hire of the Code of Ordinances relative to liability insurance required upon its second consideration.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion from council? Seeing none. Any from the public? Also seeing none. Roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 9, pass ordinance number 3084, amending Chapter 7, Buildings and Building Regulations of the Code of Ordinances relative to bond and issuance, Chapter 10, Garbage and Refuse of the Code of Ordinances relative to unlawful dumping, filling on private land, and Chapter 13, Licenses and Business Regulations of the Code of Ordinances relative to bond upon its second consideration.
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded, and any discussion from council? Seeing none. Any from the public? Also seeing none. Roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll move to the consent calendar. So the following items will be acted upon by a voice vote on a single motion without separate discussion unless someone from the council or public requests that a specific item be considered separately. So is there anyone from council that would like to pull any items for discussion from consent calendar? All right, seeing none. Any from the public? All right, also seeing none, we'll look for a motion to approve items 10 through 12 of the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded, and all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Move to the resolution calendar. So the following items will be acted upon by a roll call vote on a single motion without separate discussion unless someone from the council or public requests that a specific item be considered separately. Is there any requests for items on the resolution calendar from council? Seeing none. Any from the public? Also hearing none, we'll look for a motion to approve items 13 through 26 of the resolution
So
calendar.
moved. Second.
The motion and seconded and requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll move to allow bills and claims. We have a motion to allow bills and claims for October 7th, 2024.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion from council? And any from the public? Seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
Yeah, and Kelly.
What? I did. Oh, sorry.
Just going so fast.
Still Hannah.
Still you, Hannah.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Move to council updates and announcements. Anybody else in council have any updates or announcements? I've got a few to throw in quick here. So a couple of weeks ago, I had done a proclamation with CFU. So this week, October 6th to 12th, is Public Power Week. So just wanted to give a few point out and shout out to CFU. So CFU customers in 2023 did save, as a whole, as a community, we saved $14.8 million compared to what our comparative cities have for utility costs. So that's about $100 per month per household less that our residents pay. So if anybody grew up here, you know CFU is a blessing to what we have in the community. The other thing I did want to point out with CFU is Director or General Manager Susan Abernathy did let me know that they have 3 of their team members leaving this week for Florida, who will be leaving for an indefinite amount of time to go down there to help with the hurricanes, all the damage, and just wanted to give a shout out to them and their team. And it's accuracy. This is what happens when you give me a lot of paperwork, Kim. I lose my papers. So just want to give a quick shout out, a few of the team members. So Kurt Drawley, Mike Strouth, and Tanner Henniges have all jumped out with the team to go out there. So they're meeting up with some others from around the state. So CFU is part of a national coalition of CFU public utilities and private that provide support services when there's natural disasters. We got a lot of support during the floods, 2008 and other times. So I know CFU, for Susan, it was a big thing for their team to go out there. So thank you to the team helping out, and Godspeed to everybody in Florida with everything coming up. So anyone else for any comments? Otherwise,
Only that I think Kelly was was thinking that she was not shocked to hear that news about CFU.
I love CFU. I could sell it every day.
And another shout out to our folks working on the Main Street project and getting 12th and Main roundabout going, and everything's looking great.
So I did test it earlier today just to make sure it was open.
Wow.
Still round, it's round.
Still round.
It's round.
Good.
All right, any council referrals or pressing referrals? We have no written ones. All right, otherwise we'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Is anyone